Everybody, to some XLNC Esports action. We just saw Glacial take down Ironic here in our second game of the day. And that will probably see Glacial go on. Why did I say probably? They are going on into that last game of the day against World Class Outlaws, which is coming up next. But before we get to that, we have to discuss that last game. I'm still here. It is me, Ebram, and with Ashley. Ashley, heard you were having problems in that last game. Everything okay?
Yeah, everything's fine. Just had some roof leakage, the college dorm life. So
Water has problems, Riot has problems, everything is just this is normal. This is normal.
water is a
Water is not wet, by the way, guys. Whoever tells you that is wrong. But that is another argument for another time. Actually, let's not get into that. We are here to talk about this draft, and we were talking about this draft earlier. We kind of saw the first four picks from Glacial. We saw the Orange, we saw the Lulu, we saw the Silver, we saw the Sejuani. And then you were kind of surprised with that last pick, with that Echo.
Yeah, I don't think Echo's a bad champ whatsoever. I just felt that given if Ironic had come with maybe a different team composition, that the Echo would not have been useful, given that the rest of the draft seemed to be based around, hey, we have a beefy front line, we have a hyper carry type of player in Sivir. I was feeling maybe you could go more towards something like an Azir. You still get a lot of damage output. You get a little bit of that peel potential with the Shreem and Shuffle. So for me, it felt a little bit like a wonky pick. It ended up working out because I felt like Ironic's draft was pretty poor into what Glacial was running. But yeah, that was where the discussion was coming from.
Yeah, and coming in, felt like Glacial, like at least in the late game. This is what we mentioned last game as well. The Glacial came in with a plan from that Sivir Lulu bot lane. We were talking about Cog Lulu last game, but we were talking about how Ironic should go with something like that, and they did. They went with something like the Ezreal Nami, and honestly though, other than that Ezreal Nami bot lane, I just didn't understand what Ironic was trying to do with the comp. It just seemed out of place.
Yeah, the comp just doesn't really synergize well together. I mean, you have the Ziggs, you have the Ezreal, so you have poke potential, and I guess you have Shen for some sort of tankiness, but he's not really a tank, especially when he's 1-7 and 9 at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So for me, it just felt like you're not going to have any team fighting potential around objectives. You have to make this comp last a long time when these objectives are up so that you are able to get that poke down. We saw that it can work out when they stayed on the Baron for a long piece of time, but otherwise, I don't know. Kindred and Shen with a poke composition just didn't feel like it was synergizing well, especially into a composition that team fights so well, has a solid front line, has two strong carries, and has the support of a Lulu. It felt very, very wonky and uncertain as to what Ironic was trying to get at.
Yeah, and just looking at how this game played out, it seemed like Glacial pretty much had control throughout entirely that early game. They were picking up every dragon, they were picking up every objective, but for some reason, you could just never let Ironic get out of it. They were never too far away to not come back from this game. I believe it was at one point in the game where like Glacial had the 4 dragons. They had the soul, the Infernal Soul at that. They were about to get Baron, and they were up like 7 kills, but it was like a 2k gold lead. Like it made no sense to me.
I mean, yeah, right. It was mainly because I felt like the macro was fairly sloppy coming in from Glacial. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel as though Ironic had great macro, but I felt like Glacial's was sloppy enough that they were making weird dives down into the bot side, and in doing so, trading a tower for 1 kill, which isn't a good trade. They were trading top towers weirdly. Blitz made a nice play in order for them to get first tower for Ironic, as well as
ulti?
Yeah, the ulti into the top lane to stop that tower, as well as they didn't macro round where they didn't have the Rift Herald. Rift Herald actually went the way of Ironic. So you have this advantage, but if you're not macroing properly to get Rift Herald, to be moving your pieces around the map to knock down these objectives, having a Ziggs on the enemy team, having an Ezreal These are characters that can siege down towers really nicely, and that's going to keep any team in the game, especially if they can get plates alongside those towers.
Yeah, and just to wrap it up as we went through the game with how our casters were talking about 60s television references, it just seemed like this game was too long for what it deserved to be. Just as it seemed like our casters were 60s television references, guys. Come on,
Yeah, I know, man. They're all over the place.
Yeah, I'm so. Anyway, yeah, it just seemed like the game took way too long to actually finish up.
Yeah,
But coming into this last game, what do you expect from Glacial to do? You still expect them to get with the same type of comp, but kind of have that same miscommunication or sort of like not great coordination heading into their fights?
I would love to tell you, but I feel being told we went into pro draft
Awesome.
early, so I think we're gonna have to wrap it up and send it over to the casters.
Great, and yeah, it will be right over to our casters soon, and here you guys go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the broadcast desk. My name is Fennec. Joining me on the desk, of course, is Mitt, and we're getting ready to go. Third and final game of the night. It's Glacial versus World Class Outlaws. As we already said, Pro Draft was already done, so we are getting into the in-game draft. And Mitt, how are we feeling after watching this Pro Draft play out?
Well, let me give me a moment here to absorb the information. It is spicy. So we've got 2 scaling compositions actually. Should I spoil it? Am I allowed to spoil?
I mean, yes,
Spoiler?
but also no.
Spoiler alert. Both teams have scaling champions on them.
Both teams have a lot of scaling. We may or may not also see the I hate this mid lane matchup already.
I mean,
hate
it
the mid lane
seems like it's
matchup.
going to be really slow for a long time.
It's just why. That's all I have to say about the mid lane matchup. Just why.
Look, okay, to me, like looking at these team compositions, right? When you have 2 scaling compositions like that, both teams are saying to the other team, "I am better at farming and macro than you are." That's what both teams are saying. And just looking at how the team draft went tit for tat, tit for tat. We're gonna pick a scaling. Okay, we're gonna pick a scaling. Can we pick more scaling? Yeah, sure. We're gonna pick more scaling. So both teams are like, all right, we're gonna out macro you. We're gonna out farm you. We know how to play a scaling composition, and we're gonna do it properly. And so both teams are kind of subscribing to this idea of we're gonna do the basics better than you are. They're not trying to do anything fancy. They're not trying to do a big dive. They're not trying to have a huge team fight wombo combo. They're just saying each of our players are individually better than each of your players, and they're just going to pound for pound have more resources than you when it comes crunch time. That's what I'm seeing.
I see a Vladimir into an Azir, and I see an Ornn into a Kale, and I just think, thanks, I hate it.
The one thing. There's one thing. Throws a monkey wrench into all of this, and that's Mr. Olaf. It's gonna be on reels on this Olaf to really, put the screws and get his team accelerated faster. There's a Kale and that is a Azir. Those are 2 late game huge powerhouses. On the flip side, you've got Vladimir and Ezreal, 2 also huge late game powerhouses, and you've got Graves, who is one of those mid game trying to carry you through the mid game, whereas Olaf is gonna go early game aggression, early game skirmishing. He can skirmish pretty decently with the Azir early on, but Azir is mostly going to be looking to farm for the most part. And then, of course, you get the Ashe set bot lane. A lot of kill pressure there, a lot of CC, a lot of catch potential from both of these champions. So, positioning has to be on point, but there's also a lot of ways to dodge arrows. You've got Arcane Shift, you've got Pool, you've got Dash, and you've got... I mean, if you're landing an arrow onto an Ornn, well then, it goes pretty rough.
Yeah. I mean, Enchanted Crystal Arrow, of course. Very nice fight. Teamfight Initiator, alongside Showstopper and Emperor's Divide. Meanwhile, you have Ornn with Call the Forge God. You have no other big initiations from the side of Glacial.
Yeah, they're really,
And
if they want to start a
That
fight,
worries me with a Vladimir.
yeah. Go ahead.
They just don't have enough lockdown, I feel like, to make the Vladimir effective in fights.
Yeah,
Now that I'm looking at the comp,
if they
as a
want
whole.
to fight, it literally all hinges on Call of the Forge God. If there is no Call of the Forge God, or if it's down for whatever reason, they really can't. They can't make a fight happen. They could always turn a fight. I feel like they've got a decent composition for turning a fight on its head. Vladimir can be deceptively tanky, take a long time to kill. Ezreal, of course, good kiting with the karma keeping him alive. Could take a long while, so they could turn a fight pretty quickly. On the flip side of things, you've got an Ornn that can just Ragnarok and run at you. You've got Enchanted Chrysalair. You've got Showstopper. You've got Facebreaker. Flash Facebreaker is also an possibility for a shot on this set. And you've also got the Shurima Shuffle from Azir if they need to go that route, but I don't think they really will. And then you've also got the massive Azir damage and Kayle damage to back everything up. So it really does look like WCO have drafted a composition that is easier to pull the trigger on, whereas Glacial Esports, they're really resting on Call of the Forge God to pull the trigger, and they're looking to be more reactive. But for the most part, we've got the theme of this game is going to be who can gather the most resources. If you guys are like, if these guys are going to be fighting back and forth consistently, then it's going to be who is dying more. It's not so much like if you're getting kills. Kills are nice. It's 300 gold in the bag. But if you're dead, that's where it starts to become bad. Because if you're dead, you're not farming, you're not getting experience, and you're falling behind in terms of the crawl uphill that both these teams kind of have to do to get to the point where these fights are going to be very explosive. I mean, I'm assuming that we're not going to see tremendous amounts of action unless Reels really wants to pump the gas until around like the 20-25 minute mark, and then at that point these fights are going to be hugely explosive.
Yeah, explosive they would be, especially with the amount of bursts you have with the Vladimir and Ezreal, Kayle, and Olaf. I mean, there's a lot more sustained damage, I think, from the side of World Class Outlaws and a lot more burst from Glacial, but at the same time, that's kind of the type of damage you want against the other comp anyway. You have a lot of burst with the Vladimir Ezreal up against a comp that's really 2 bruisers and 3 squishies, technically 2.5 bruisers, versus World Class Outlaws with the sustained damage, very good against the Ornn, and can be good up against Karma. But we'll really see. I think a lot of this will be determined by the early jungle pathing, because you have a Graves and an Olaf, both of whom are very good early game junglers, and both of whom can punish overextensions from any of these lanes if they are not careful.
Yeah, and I mean, we're talking about burst damage here. And Kayle and Azir, yes, are known to be more, of like the sustained damage type thing. But once Kayle hits level 16, she don't really. It might as well be burst because the sustained damage comes out so quickly.
I remember when there was only one get to level 16 and win champion, and that was Kassadin. I still hate Kassadin, but now there's Kayle, and I hate both Kayle the vegetable and the champion.
Oh my.
Kayle is the worst vegetable.
Oh my lord, dude. I don't even eat Kayle.
It's just tough arugula. That's what it is.
Dude. Ugh. It's too healthy, man.
No, I can do with healthy food. I'm just saying, why use Kayle when you can just use arugula? Because arugula is actually edible.
I don't know, man, but here we are on the Rift. We've got these two teams. On the blue side, if you would do us the honors of introducing Glacial Esports.
Joey Dust in the top lane, Skiz in the jungle, XS in the mid lane, Epic Fail Guy 4, 5, 6 in the AD carry position and Zylandis in support.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the rift, we have world-class outlaws, WL Fresh Burger, Kale in the top lane, Reels in the jungle, Chris Meister in the mid lane, Kathy and Shot, your bot lane duo. And it looks like it's going to be topside starts for both of these junglers.
Well, hopefully he doesn't waste his shot. Hamilton reference. No.
And
A couple years too late on that one.
Shot. Okay. No, I got you. I got you, dude. I'm down with Hamilton.
Not gonna waste my shot. And then he fires it into the air.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
I think that's the.
See. The funny thing is, right. He tells his son, yeah, honorable thing to do is fire into the air, not actually shoot at the other guy, and then that gets his son killed. And then he does the exact same thing.
I just love the fact that you said spoilers when we've literally known that Hamilton shot in the air for like a good almost 300 years now.
It's closer to 250 than 300.
I don't think you need to spoiler alert that one, my dude.
Because the bicentennial was in 1976. So
we got 50 more years. So yeah, 250 years. But anyways, on the Rift, which really matters, screw America and American history and real world politics. We're looking at the Rift politics. And right now, we're farming.
Ash looking to be a strong potential leader of the Freljord, but I don't know. There's some challenge from Sejuani.
Hot takes, my dude. Hot takes. But Azir's getting a little bit better of this mid lane. But of course, I mean, Vladimir, he just needs to Q a couple times. He'll be back up nice and healthy. But I mean, for the most part, he's gonna have Prio. Oh my, is he gonna Nexus?
I mean, it is Azir. He just kind of outpokes Vlad if Vlad's not careful, and
don't let him do you like that, Exus. You're worth more than that, okay? I believe in you.
See, the thing is, as someone who plays, someone who lanes well into both of these here champions, I'm all right with this.
Yeah,
Chris Meister, though, gonna get the flash forced out by Skiz.
Nice stuff from Skiz. I don't think he needed to necessarily flash there, but better safe than sorry at the end of the day. So, but I mean, I have to assume that Chris is gonna have to play a whole lot safer now. As I say that as he's like basically pushing onto the tower right now. But I mean, with Exus on such low HP, he's got a recall. He's gonna get one push off and deny a little bit of a, probably about half a wave here. Oh, and there's the gank
looking for Fresh Burger. Gets the blind down. Fresh Burger has the flash. Will use it to get away from Joey Desu with the Searing Charge.
Skiz being very active on the map already. 2 ganks gone off in the span of just like about a minute there. I like it. You know, you normally think that the Olaf would be the one that's like the more aggressor, going into the enemy jungle, looking for skirmishes, looking for fights. But it looks like Skiz is able to just clear most of his jungle and then immediately get 2 ganks off, already making his presence known on the map, blowing 2 flashes. And that's going to be pretty huge for Glacial Esports as they look to scale, you know, get to those big item power spikes.
Speaking of scaling,
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know what else. I don't know what else to talk about. There's just so much.
See, I thought you were gonna go
game.
into something like Kale is like the Justice Angel, and like she in her one of her splash arts, she's got like the scales.
No, see, no, I was more thinking because the chat was talking about if Setta's a bird or not, because he's like half bird or whatever, like Rakan. But also, you're forgetting the best bird, my main girl Anivia.
Okay.
I may be in an Anivia one trick. That may be a known thing.
But meanwhile,
Excess getting engaged on. Axe
Real?
lands. Here comes the TP though. Excess into the Sanguine Pool. And Skiz over flashing, forcing the flash out of Reels, getting the damage out. And now Reels gets taken down, and the first blood goes over to Skiz. Chris Meister trying to get some damage down on Excess, but it's a little bit too little too late. And a lot of flashes blown, and that is the Dragon going over to Glacial Esports as well.
Skiz is showing some real jungle prowess on this Graves right now. 2 ganks off, a counter gank, gets himself a kill, and then goes into the Dragon. I don't see them stopping this one. Yeah, no, and he's going to grab himself a Dragon too. I mean, Skiz is just doing work this game on this Graves. I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, he's clearing super well. Look at it. His jungle's barren right now. Picks up a Dragon, picks up a kill, has blown both mid laners mid laner and top laners flash. So Joey's able to just romp all over. Oh, he's level 6.
Forge God
She doesn't
on
have
a Fresh
6.
Burger into the Brittle Pack. And goodbye, Fresh Burger. Flash forward and the auto to clean it up as Joey just picks up the solo kill.
Yeah.
And another great start for Glacial.
He hits level 6 before Fresh Burger, and he says, wait a second, you're not level 6 yet? Okay, here we go. Enjoy. And he knows the flash is down. He burns his own flash to pick up the kill. I'm not sure if he had to necessarily burn his flash, but I can respect just securing that. Forcing the kill to teleport.
Reels. Skiz with a nice dodge with the axe.
Skiz.
That is
Skiz,
some
my man. Skiz is dirty.
Footwork, if I could say so myself.
You know, and the thing is Skiz isn't just playing well mechanically, he's playing well game knowledge-wise. You know, his pathing is pretty great right now, and his positioning, you know, being there for the mid lane counter gank when he was, he's got a pretty good read on what Reels is trying to do this game and has been basically outmaneuvering him for the past 3 minutes here.
And, meanwhile, XS, currently waiting for the next back, has a Ruby Crystal and an Amplifying Tome. Vladimir being able to use mage items without having AP.
Beautiful stuff.
Or not AP, without having a mana. Wow, I am tired, aren't I?
Fun champ, fun champ. But here we got in the top lane, Kayle is getting up close to a 20 CS lead. She is 1 kill down, but the CS is arguably more important on a champion like Kayle, where she needs, she scales more with levels than anything else. As long as she's catching those waves for the most part, she'll be good. She had to burn TP. What's up?
Even gold in the top lane too.
Yeah. The kill is equaling that. I mean, they're only 400 gold up, even though they're 2 kills down. So that means that the farm is pretty decent for WCO. So they don't have to be stressing too much right now. You know, a few unfortunate things happened early on. Oh, Joey. Ooh, that's nasty. And it's
surprising amount of damage, TM.
Yeah.
And
tanky assassin DPS.
Tank assassin DPS fighter.
The meme lives on in Orin. But yeah,
support, I mean, builder. Wait, wrong game.
We
speaking of Overwatch, yeah, the game's dead, Chief.
Feels bad, man.
You know what isn't dead? Valorant. Also CSGO.
Another Riot
not
game.
Dead.
We're getting up there. Skiz looking for some kind of counter game, but is going to just recall here. I would love to see him go for that Ripto. I think that'd be really nice. Graves has a great time taking Ripto.
Fresh Burger with some hyphy positioning. Building in towards that Hextech Gunblade, of course. As XS completes Proto Belt on this back. Shot. Trying to bait out Karma and Ezreal. Ezreal's is keeping ready for the lane gank.
He's spending a lot of time here while Rift Herald is up. And I think Skiz is getting wise to it, and he's just going to go for it. I don't see... I think he wants to go for it.
Skiz is just starting on Rift.
Oh, he's going up and around. No. He's going,
oh,
he's going for a long
sees a
gank
kill on
the
a Fresh Burger.
She's got her flash
Kayle
up
has
again.
ult, but she has no mana. Short, meanwhile, flash with face breakers. We see the Call Forge God in the top lane. Xylandis gonna get taken down by Reels as the kill gets traded in the top lane.
I hate that flash.
Support for top laner, and I feel like that one goes in favor of the top lane trade unless Epic Fail guy falls here.
Yeah, killing the Kayle is far more important than killing Xylandis on the Karma. Especially since now Orin's going to get a plate, he's going to deny about a wave of CS. Kayle does not have teleport to get back there, and I really don't like the fact that Kayle flashed during that. I mean, she was basically dead to rights. Called the Forge God was coming through. Skiz had a perfect angle on her and way more than enough damage to take her down. Maybe if she had ult for Divine Intervention, it would have been a different story. But now she's down to flash, so the next time...
The cooldown was there, she was just out of mana.
Yeah, if she had the mana for it, I think it would have been okay to flash. But without the mana, I don't think there's a reason to flash there. Just take the death. and then have your flash available. Because now Joey's going to do the same thing that he did the first time. She will have ult up this time at least, granted, but she won't have flash. So Joey's going to be able to, you know, put the screws to her a lot. Also, Joey's going to have teleport available for this dragon play if need be. Kale will not be able to answer that, but I think it's just going to go. It's going pretty quickly. Teleport's already coming in through Joey. Joey does not
this is
call
going
the
to be
guard.
Success tries to find the steal. Won't find it as the Olaf will get the kill. But here comes the damage as Lylandis picks it up with the auto onto Reels. And will be the Infernal Soul this game. Once again, a soul that favors Glacial heavily with the Vladimir and the Ezreal.
I mean, Reel's coming in sneaky-like, takes the dragon, does cost his life, but I think you take that trade for the most part. And it looks like some plates are going to go over as this Rift Herald smacks down. Boom. Gotta love putting that goal in your Ezreal.
We going sneaky beaky like. Counter-Strike Global Offensive, everybody.
You have so many references, man.
Look, I use references to mask the fact that I have no sense of humor, much like Big Bang Theory.
That's brutal, dude. Don't say that. Don't say that about yourself, man. We still have you, man. Anyways, rest in peace, Mr. Vladimir. Feels so bad. Poor Exus. Oh, there's the ult. Big engage coming through.
Oh, showstopper, but Epic Fail Guy is taken down so low.
Whew. Well, it looked pretty scary for a second there. Epic Fail Guy forced the flash away. Freshburger, I think, is starting to find his footing in this top lane. Getting some really good trades back out onto Joey. Still doesn't have a flash, though, so being pushed up that far is kind of inviting Skiz to come over and cause some trouble. Okay. A little bit of poke going on the bot lane as Shot is coming around very deep. Oh, Shot.
Reels
Shot.
pops the ultimate on his
that's
Islandis.
not
He's taken down
kosher.
very low. The Shot
Breaker.
finds his face breaker on Epic Fail Guy. Ignited up into the Haymaker, and the double kill comes through for Reels.
Good stuff from Reels. Skiz was kind of outmaneuvering him early on, but Reels is starting to find his footing. I'll just use the same idiom twice in a row as he gets a double kill in the bot lane. Shot really the one setting that up though. He comes up pretty deep behind. I mean, Kathy and Reel's able to secure by themselves. But Skiz in the top lane.
Right back onto the Kale. Gonna pop the Divine Intervention, but there is not too much to intervene.
Yeah, not even the Divine can help you with that one, Kale. I'm sorry. So this is actually really huge at this point. So 3 deaths on the Kale, that's a lot of experience missed. So this is going to severely cripple the scaling that is supposed to be coming out from this Kale top lane. Additionally... Okay.
Turret goes down the top lane though, so first turret goes over to Glacial Esports.
Azir putting a ton of damage back down onto Exus. Exus is not having a good time in this bot lane, falling behind about 20 CS there. I mean, the only saving grace here for Burger is that he's about, 20 CS up on the orange, but those 3 deaths, that's not so much experience lost.
Epic Fail Guy though, caught in the storm, dodges out the Haymaker, but Reels still goes on a killing spree, picking it up, but he still dies to the tower. You can't tank those. Silentis is here with Exus now.
That makes it good for Epic Fail Guy. That's a commitment of a lot of resources into the bot lane, and the fact that they trade 1 for 1 is a good thing for Mr. Fail Guy. Gives Kale some time to scale in this top lane. I mean, time for Kale is almost invaluable. Losing time by dying is terrible, but gaining time by having a bunch of members bot lane and then still trading 1 for 1 is pretty nice for world-class outlaws. The gold lead, I mean, despite the fact that, Skiz has been doing a lot of work this game, the gold lead is still relatively similar. But the experience tells a different story. We're looking at level advantages in the jungle and the top lane for Glacial, Skiz and Joey. You really need those levels on Kale, though. So every time that she falls behind in levels on Joey, It's just delaying that huge spike and allowing for some opportunity for X's to kind of scale, allowing opportunity for Epic Fail Guy to scale. It's really just like, you know, it's a horse race. Whichever one slows down and pulls ahead is the one that's probably going to win at the end, because they're both going to the same place, which is, you know, 2 late game hyperscaling carries on each team, just who gets there first. Right now it's looking like Azir is edging out Vladimir a little bit, and Ezreal's edging out Ashe just a little bit.
And Kale's doing Kale things, but it doesn't really matter yet. Still has 5 levels to go on that.
Yep. I would like to see, I think Azir, once he finishes that Nashor's Tooth, they're going to be able to make a lot of moves on this map. So I would really love to see Azir prioritize getting that Nashor's Tooth as quickly as possible, and then, you know, start making some pushes, going for some objectives.
They're gonna trade for the Infernal and a bottom tower for the mid tower?
Oh,
True Shot Barrage.
Too. I don't like that.
He's the Infernal being taken. They're going for the mid tier 2. So the Infernal goes over. Not sure about that one, Chief.
Oh no, it's only gonna go to 50% HP, so the Infernal is gonna get grabbed,
Here
and
comes
now
the
they get the
TP
engage.
though, Showstopper, but that's not who you want. Joey Desk is happy, taking the sacrifice to the team. Freshburger, meanwhile, TP's into the fight, but is caught up at the Call of Forge God. Meanwhile, Joey Desk caught out by the Emperor's Divide as Chris Meister picks up the kill.
Yeah, we see Glacial go a little too deep. They're looking for that tier 2 tower. They know that they're on Dragon, but I think they just didn't anticipate it to take that long while they were working on the tower. So Rifthill is going to go over now to World Class Esports as they pick up the kill. They're able to come up behind them while they're trying to retreat out through the mid lane. Half the team went through the top side jungle, which I think, yes, that's the right call. But the other half, we see Joey Desu and I believe Epic Fail Guy were running just straight through mid trying to get back to their tower, where they get promptly cut off. Emperor's Divide shoves Joey Desu back, and they're able to pick up that kill onto him. And subsequently, grab top tower, a Rift Herald. So what turned into kind of like an even trade, you know, Infernal Drake for mid tower and like 50% mid tier 2, ends up going into a really bad trade for, excuse me, Glacial Esports. Yeah, sorry, I was, for some reason I was thinking like ironic, but yeah. So gold lead, which was once, no, it still hasn't even shifted that much. It's only shifted 300 gold in the favor of World Class Esports. I just can't, World Class Outlaws. I can't even think about these team names right now. They're just throwing me off. But yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, we need to get this Kale online. We need to get this Azir online. He does have the Nashor's Tooth now. He's going to be quite powerful. Kale's got the Gunblade. Kale needs a Nashor's Tooth as well. And then we're looking at some action. But up until that point, still in kind of Kale limbo. Baron's going to be spawning soon. In the next minute or so. 20 seconds on that Baron. Oh, there's the ult coming across.
Oh, Showstopper gets on this Landis. Here comes Skull Forge God. It won't be completed. A shot gets back into the Facebreaker, into the Haymaker. XS, meanwhile, gonna do some damage to the backline. He will be able to get one kill, but he ends up Jimmy trading his life for it as the Ragnarok gets popped. Reals, though, will be traded as it is a 2-4-2 in the double kill for Epic Fail Guy.
Ooh, that True Shot Barrage almost picking up 2 kills there for Epic Fail Guy as well. It's going to be 2 for 2 at the end of the day, which, you know, barely moves the needle at all in terms of this game. A little bit of a scrappy fight, but Kale does get some quality time with that bot lane tower, which is going to go down. And she's going to get caught up in her experience, but a little too deep right now. Let's see what she can make happen.
Fail Guy? Oh, no. Oh, no.
So greedy.
Oh, no. Freshburger, though. Willing to pop the ultimate, tries to get on Epic Fail Guy. He stays alive. Zylandis coming in clutch with the shields.
Freshburger gets so greedy there. I appreciate the fact that you turn on the Epic Fail Guy there, of course. You do the damage to him. But as soon as Epic Fail Guy flashes away, you're like, ooh, my job here is done. I get to escape, and I almost killed the Ezreal, and I burned his flash. It's more than I could ever hope for. But she gets greedy, tries to go for it, and an Athene's shield pops up, and it's like, oh, I guess I'll die.
Real Reels trying to find his way on access. Sanguine pulled down as the Emperor's Divide is a swing and a miss. That's a disaster, as that means Epic Fail Guys gets the kill on the Azir.
Yeah, that's the second Streamer Shuffle or Emperor's Divide in a row that has been very lackluster. I think maybe a little bit of nerves here from Chrismeister as he's just throwing those just a little bit too early. I think if he just hangs on to it for a little bit, he can find a better one. Well, the Baron is going to get started up here, and there's a ton of damage coming out. The thing is burning very, very quickly.
Freshburger's around.
Freshburger and Reels are looking for something.
Riftfield gets channel in the mid lane. They want to afford this appeal, but they're going to burn it down.
Baron's at 1k, it's going to go.
And it goes over to the Graves. A shot pops the ultimate. He still falls down in the pit as the Call of Forge God gets on to 3. It's a disaster for the side of World Class Outlaws as Glacial Esports gets the final kill of that fight. 4 for 1, and the Baron goes over to Glacial Esports.
Alright, if that doesn't blow the game open, I don't know what will. 3 kills going over to Epic Fail Guy. They do lose Exus in the trade, but they pick up a Baron for themselves while also killing 4 members of the squad in the subsequent team fight. Just a really scrappy, unorganized fight. Once Chrismeister dies, that opens up the play for the Baron, and then they still tried to contest the Baron when they had no business going into that. Call of the Forge God sweeping across 3 members, doing so much damage. There's no way for them to get it. And now they got Baron, they're getting a Dragon, and I think the push is going to come out bot lane in just a couple seconds here.
And down goes the Infernal. It's 2 dragons apiece now for both these teams.
From that one play, we already see a 3k gold lead going over to Glacial. And they haven't even, began their Baron push yet, so that's only going to balloon.
Death Stance on Epic Fail Guy.
Oof.
Not going for the Triforce. Instead going for the Iceborne Gauntlet. A little bit tankier of an Ezreal build, but ooh, Death Stance.
I can respect it. It's gonna take a long time for this Ezreal to die. Even with Reels just running at him. Death Stance just makes him so tanky, and the Iceborne Gauntlet gives him great staying power in these fights. And he doesn't need that extra damage. Skiz is already, putting in tons of work, and you've got Exus. He'll eventually come online as well. I think it's better if he stays alive for the sustained damage, being able to keep up with the Azir and the Kale, than just trying to go for more bursts and then just getting exploded by a Olaf or something.
Well, here comes Chrismeister. He's able to get a Shrima Shuffle back into the showstopper as Joey Desk falls. Shot picks up the kill, and that's going to be a shutdown onto the Ezreal as well. A nice Shrima Shuffle. They're able to get 3.
Yeah, pulling the trigger very, very quickly, recognizing that Exus was not there for the fight. Exus maybe getting a little bit in his head, or just the macro shot calling was a little bit off there as they were pushed way too far up. There was no pressure in the mid lane. That just frees up Chrismeister. Just completely pull the trigger there. Catching Epic Fail Guy out of position. Doesn't matter how much resistance is and, delayed damage you get from the Death Stance. You are going to go down if you are thrown into the middle of the enemy team. So the Baron power play is stopped in its tracks for the most part. I believe that Karma Karma still has it, and that's it. Yep, just Karma. So they won't, nope. Just fell off too. So what once was a 3k gold lead now goes back into a 1k gold lead as the game starts to equalize even more. All the while, Freshburger is inching towards level 16, slowly but surely.
Inchworm.
Eventually. One day, this kill will be 16, and ooh, it'll be nasty. Just you wait. Just about a long time because she's kind of.
She'll be level 16. Let's make sure we put the level in that one.
Oh my god. Officer, I swear she was level 18.
I'm sorry. Anyways. Let's not. That's a little bit unclassy.
Anyways, moving on. World Class Esports. Getting the upgrade coming through on the Iceborne Gauntlet. That doesn't. I feel like Iceborne Gauntlet is one of those items you get upgraded and you're like, I don't feel super great about this one. You get your Infinity Edge upgrade and you're like, ooh, that's nice. You get your death cap upgrade, and you're like, ooh, that's nice. You get your Iceborne, and you're like, all right. I got some more armor. Olaf really can't kill me. But really, the issue isn't really Olaf. It's about to be this Kayle who's going to be doing tons of hybrid damage. Mostly true when she's level 16. And nobody wants that. Kayle scaling up in the side lane. Ooh, shot's a little too far forward.
About to get caught out by Skiz. The damage coming through, but he's able to get out. True Sharp Barrage going to be a swing and a miss, though.
Yeah, shot's really tanky with a Dead Man's Plate and a Night Cloak. He took a long time to go down there. He was taking a lot of damage, but he didn't even have to pop the Haymaker for the shield or anything like that. But he was pretty deep. He's going to have to recall. We'll reset any intentions that our World Class had on this map right now. But it really is kind of a lull. Both these teams are just waiting for some kind of an objective to spawn. Next one's going to be this next Infernal Drake in just a few seconds. 30 seconds to be precise. And about 30 seconds as well on the Baron. So both those objectives will be spawning at the same time. We'll see which one gets prioritized. Probably going to be this Dragon. Look for a pick around the Dragon fight, or whoever wins that Dragon team fight will then look for the subsequent Baron and potentially break the base for the first time. Both teams' structures are mirrored right now. Mid lane and bot lane inhib turrets are all that are standing up, whereas the tier 2 is still available in the top lane for both of these teams. So it really is it's a pretty even game right now. There's been throws back and forth, and here we are as the Dragon gets started up.
Oh, this might actually be a deciding fight as the TP gets channeled. They want to burst it down. Here comes Skiz, though, and it goes over to Glacial as XS gets back into the backline. Showstopper down as he's trying to find the face breaker. He gets on the 4 as XS gets killed into Reels, but the Showstopper and the face breaker don't do enough. It's 3 down as Glacial find the fight.
Yeah, shot goes in super heavy deep there. And he gets a ton of damage out, but there really is no follow-up to get back there. The rest of the team is kiting backwards. You know, Kayle and Ashe, they want to kite backwards. Azir wants to kite backwards. Olaf wants to run forward with shot. So that needs to be a little bit more coordinated. Yes, shot, you can, ult an Ornn into the back line, drop it on a bunch of squishies, and then go to town, but you need some follow-up damage to really nail it home, and I feel Reels can do that, but he's going to have to be more coordinated. But like we were looking for, like I was saying earlier, they're going to fight for this Dragon. Whoever wins the team fight or gets a pick, then heads towards the Baron. That's exactly what we saw happen. Skiz steals the Dragon as well, and they got a Baron now. They got a Baron power play looking to crack open this base. So I would love to see just a 5-man push mid, I think. They have, when Call the Forge God comes up, they'll be able to execute a pretty decent dive with a Vladimir and an Vladimir and an Ornn. I'm not a huge fan of the 4-1. TP is available though, so Ornn could TP into the fight. But these fights can be very, very explosive. They can end very quickly. Ornn might not have time to TP in to actually influence the fight, because shot is already coming up the backside looking for trouble.
Make that one double as Freshburger finds his way into XS, who goes super low. Epic Fill Guy, though, able to get the kill on a shot as the TP comes in from Joey Dust into the Call of Forge God, only able to get one on the knock-up, but it's enough as he gets the follow-up, and the triple kill from the Ezreal's already through. Freshburger gonna pop the ulti as the stopwatch comes in from the Vlad. Here we go, the quadra for the Ezreal. That's gonna be the game, that's gonna be the set. That's going to be the match, and that's going to be the night. World-class Outlaws go down as Glacial Esports are tonight's mid-testing ground champions.
Yeah, I think slowing down that Kayle was super important, but oh my goodness. That last team fight. What? Shot? Okay, Shot tries to do something, but Shot just kind of like runs up the mid lane behind, and he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then they're like, no. You ain't doing it, Chief. We're wise to it. And they just blow him up before he didn't even get a chance to haymaker. He was really coming up from the back, and he's looking for a showstopper to pull a squishy in, but like he kind of walks up to them and then just turns around and gets blown up. And it's like, Question mark? So then it's a 4v5 immediately, and Joey's like, whoa, the fight's breaking out right now because he kind of sees the shot just kind of waddling up, teleports in, gets the dive off, and that was really unfortunate interaction there with the Emperor's Divide and the Ornn headbutt knocking up his ear, getting him killed as well. But man, some gameplay, some gamey gameplay. Poor Kale got sent so far behind, wasn't really able to do anything all game.
Yeah, just really well played from Glacial. A couple of throws from both these teams, but Glacial got the lead, threw it a bit, but they came back and did as they do. And that is it for us on the casting desk tonight. But before we end tonight's broadcast, we're going to throw that to the analyst desk. And they're going to take a last look at tonight's games, and that one in particular. We'll see you next week, right here, same time, same place. But don't go anywhere, because analysts doing their thing in a minute.
All right, and now we are on the analyst desk. This is no longer your casters. This is me, Ebron. Ashley, how are you doing?
I'm pretty upset at the anti-Kale sentiment we've heard from the casting desk today. Very biased.
No worries, Ashley's. We will get to that at a point, but the point right here is first of all, Glacial, congratulations. You guys do win our tournament today against World Class Outlaws, and it seems we're having a little bit of a fight in the chat about what a best of one means. But you know what? You guys have at it. For this game though, like it was a game, Ashley. That's what it was, and I want you I want your first thoughts about it first.
Okay, yeah, it was definitely a game. I'm not gonna say it was a clean game from Glacial. Definitely wasn't clean from World Class Outlaws. I feel like this game mostly came down to Skiz just being the better jungler overall. He had better early pressure. He made better decisions as far as macro, what objectives he wanted to be at. Was he at the Drake? Was he getting the initial Rift Herald? What ganks was he making? What lanes was he prioritizing? And I feel like that really turned the tide of the game. I still feel like it wasn't clean from them. They lost a 4v5 while they had Baron buff because they decided to let their Vlad split push for some reason. Overall, it wasn't perfect, but because Skiz was able to make the correct macro decisions and have decent shot calling, it felt like they just completely outclassed World Class Outlaws, who had very, very poor shot calling throughout.
Yeah, it just seems like throughout both teams, it seemed like just coordination was was I won't say the name of this game because coordination wasn't there. So what's the complete opposite of coordination? Like what is chaos? Well, I don't want to say that word because like we've seen what happens when the analyst. Yeah, no, we won't say that word.
I had to.
But yeah, just coming in. First of all, looking at this draft, we were looking at 2 late game teams. That was the name of the game. That's what exactly we knew what we were doing. This is why I pretty much was on my phone in the early game and just you know what, cool. Kale died. It doesn't matter. No, Kale. It doesn't matter if she died 3 times in the early game. You saw what damage she did to Ezreal there in that little fight. Early game did not matter, guys. First 20 minutes was not part of this game. It was all about that last 10 minutes, and God, did we get that last good 10 minutes. I first want to talk about that Baron team fight. The first Baron where Glacial were doing it, and World Class Outlaws waited to start the fight until the Baron was taken. Any thoughts, Ashley?
I mean, it's just not a good fight. You took a fight previously and lost people in it. So you're already down cooldowns. You're coming from a back angle. The Baron's already getting burst low. I think at the most you maybe try and go for a steal there. But overall, why make that decision, right? Okay, I understand maybe you get the kills and clean them up after the Baron and then it's not useful. But because of the state of the situation and the context of the situation, when you go in there, you're at a disadvantage already, 4v5, and you're not going to win that fight. Kale's not online yet. She doesn't do enough damage yet. And they just took Baron, and you end up giving 4 kills over to a Ezreal that was already somewhat ahead, and you just feed him and the rest of his team more. It's overall just a sloppy decision. You don't have to fight that. You can give them the Baron and just clear waves. You're not at a state where you've lost enough structures where they're going to end the game off Baron.
Yeah, and it also seemed right after that Baron, I don't think Glacial used it well at all. So they went down the bot lane, and then World Class Outlaws honestly just had a great engage. It was the great Shurima shuffle. We had a Sets looking to go from the side and just have a great ulti there on the back line. And that's when I really thought, okay, this game is really, really even right now. Let's see what happens next. But it seemed like that fight was more of a blip, and it just didn't happen again.
Well, yeah, that fight was an absolute blip, mainly because when we look at that fight that happens in the bot lanes, first off, it's a 4v5, right? I mentioned earlier, I don't know why the Vladimir is split pushing in that situation.
Oh, yeah.
You're not strong enough to take a 4v5 fight, and you're not positioning well enough around your Baron buff. You have Ezreal, right? You can literally just poke from so far away while keeping your Baron-empowered minions alive and sieging. You don't have to be close enough to get engaged on there. Yes, the set makes a good flank position, but overall, why are you taking a 4v5 there? It just is sloppy. Beyond that, on the other side of things, World Class Outlaws got a nice engage there. It was a good fight from them as far as the Shurima shuffle. The Emperor's Divide came in. Shot found a nice showstopper. But that was the only time we saw it that way. We see later on by the Soul Point Drake, there's this fight going on, this positioning, and when the fight finally starts, you see Shot go in, Reels kind of goes in and gets ulted by Freshburger, so the Kale ult is out. Meanwhile, Kale, Ashe, and Azir are all kind of way far away, and Azir's Shurima shuffle got nothing, right? I want to see the Ashe arrow go in. I want to see Shot come from an angle from their jungle from the side, look for an engage that way, and then let's see the Shurima shuffle dash in, pull everybody back into the Kale, into the Olaf, so that ult combo can make a lot of use and you can get that much damage down. Instead, it was half-assed. Excuse my language, but it was just indecisive. They didn't seem to understand how they wanted to play the fight, and they lost it because of that.
Yeah, no need to excuse your language. We've seen much worse language from our beautiful casters today.
They hate Kale.
They hate Kale. What's? I mean, look, you mentioned the cauliflower. Cauliflower is horrible. Yes, but like Kale sucks. Like as a champ, honestly, Kale sucks.
I actually don't agree with that statement. I feel like Kale doesn't suck. If Kale sucked, I don't feel like on Saturday of the LEC we would have seen her picked in 3 straight games.
Like I'm just saying, like, not as like a champion in power. Like, I think she's powerful. I just don't like Kale as a champion, as a main champion. No, I like the process. I like having her in late game. Okay, 16 good. But it just seems like I don't like how teams play around her. I don't like how teams utilize Kale. Like, we saw in those fights from World Class Outlaws that we're seeing fights where Kale is alone. Why is Kale alone in these fights? Like, she's not a split pusher. She can split push a little bit, but like it's not crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair point.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's a indictment of Kale as a champion. I think that's an indictment of how the team is utilizing and playing around her.
Very true. Maybe I just don't want to see Kale in this elo.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it. I think this game is a game where both teams have a lot to learn as far as macro and about how using their champions effectively. On the side of Glacial Esports, I want to see them make better use of the Vladimir when you have that Baron buff. Make sure you're taking these 5v5s and you're not sending them out to split push like that. On the other side of things for Glacial Esports, I still want to see Epic Fail Guy being used as a siege character when you have that Baron as well as just overall better macro. For World Class Outlaws, we talked about it. You have to use Kale better. You have to make the best use of them. But for me, the big issue came not with Kale for World Class Outlaws. The big issue came with Azir. It didn't feel like they knew how to use Azir. The Shuriman shuffles, the Emperor's Divides were going on to Exis on the Vladimir a lot. Overall, it just didn't feel like you were getting value out of that ultimate and out of that character as far as the damage output we know Azir's can have.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're not getting the team fight potential and the damage output of an Azir, don't draft it, right? It doesn't feel like they know how to play around it. Don't draft it. Go in a different direction. Maybe go towards an Echo or something like we saw previously from Glacial. I think that would be better for them as a whole. But overall, I think it was a good game. I think there's a lot to be taken away from this. Of course, there's always going to be things to improve on when we're at this ELO. But it was exciting, and I had a good time watching it.
Oh yeah, and to go like wrap it up as well. World Class Outlaws, yes, while they didn't have the greatest of games, Glacial Esports it was more about Glacial Esports overperforming than it was about World Class Outlaws kind of underperforming in some areas. Glacial Esports, I really like how Skiz played that early game. I really like how Joey Desu would just be a huge tank in these fights. Honestly, after that Echo game, I wasn't very, very happy with this game from Vladimir. I thought XCOS could have personally had a better game with how everything was happening around him. But yeah, it just seemed like Glacial Esports, as well as that bot lane of Epic Veil Guy and Zolandis, they just had, as a whole, as a team, a great game.
Yeah, I definitely think they were the better team on the day. And we talked about earlier that they came into this as they've been around here and there, but not been around as long as maybe someone like God Squad. So we were excited to see what they brought to the table, and they really stepped up their game and showed us that they're a contender. So.
And contenders, they are. They got 2 stream games, and they showed us why they deserve those 2 stream games. Ashley, any last thoughts before we end today's stream?
Don't hate on kale. Cauliflower is the worst vegetable. Make sure you hydrate. And thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys having me on today for the XLNC Esports.
Yeah, and that would be it for today. My name was Ibram. That was Ashley right there. We had Finnick and Mitt as our casters. Dr. Monocle was our amazing producer, and they all worked in. And on this great Tuesday, mid-testing grounds from XLNC Esports. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for participating in the chat. Thanks for Upsurge, by the way, for randomly just coming in and bringing in like all those viewers with them. If anyone's sticking around from Upsurge, you guys rock as well. So yeah, thank you, everyone, and I hope you guys have a great week.